Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here. Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to discuss some players that you might want to consider buying for Game Week 4, or if you're on your wildcard, some players that you might want to consider selecting. If you do enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button, and if you are new around here, make sure to subscribe as well. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So guys, as I said, in today's video, I'm going to look at some players that I think you should consider purchasing for Game Week 4. And even if you don't buy them in Game Week 4, at least players that should be on your radar. And listen, the likes of Salah, Haaland, Palmer are all fantastic, but there's no point me sitting here and telling you that those players are great. So I'm not going to say that people have never heard of the players that I'll mention today, or no one's considered buying them, but they are players that I still think at least are going slightly under the radar and aren't obvious picks that I think you should at least consider. And one of those, the starting player, is actually Wissa. Everyone knows how amazing Mbeumo is, and he's shown that. He got that 14-pointer against Southampton, and people are raving about him, and rightly so. I would argue from Game Week 6, he's probably in my top 3 midfielders to own. And so definitely consider him, and definitely try and prioritise him if you can, because he's got the penalties, he's got set pieces, he's got minutes, he's got great data. And I think over the last 2 seasons, Mbeumo's finishing has improved as well, which was always the question with him. He gets the chances, but can he finish them? And without Tony in the team, they look to Mbeumo for goals. So I absolutely think you should consider him. But another player that they are looking to at the moment that is also involved in such a high quantity of their chances is Wissa, who is $1 million cheaper than Mbeumo at 6.1 and also a forward. So if you can't squeeze another expensive midfielder in there, which sometimes is difficult if you're trying to get Palmer, Salah, Trent, Haaland in there, especially on wildcard, it's very difficult. Wissa deserves some discussion. So I'm actually going to let myself take this away at first. So if you've not yet seen, I've created a podcast for this season called FPL Therapy. It's in studio. I usually get a guest on every single week. In the international break, it was just me solo podding. You can find it now on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. All you need to do is search for FPL Therapy. But I had a bit of a discussion around Wissa there. So just to give you a little teaser about what you can see there, and feel free to obviously go check that episode out after this video. Here is what I have to say about Wissa. But one player that still doesn't get the credit he deserves is actually Wissa. So he's a very nice price point, obviously more expensive than someone like a João Pedro, but still a very cheap forward. And he's just taking so many shots and getting so many chances. And I said that Mbeumo is normally involved in Brentford's goals. It kind of feels like the same with Wissa at the moment. When you look at the underlying data for the Brentford assets, in terms of, is there a large share of who's getting the chances? There's not. A team like, maybe even like an Arsenal, the chances are often spread around Trossard, Martinelli, Saka, Ødegaard, Havertz. Lots of players getting chances. Brentford, it just doesn't happen. It's literally just Wissa and Mbeumo at the moment. So Wissa had 6 shots in total, with 4 of those being in the box in Game Week 3. That was the highest number of shots joint with 2 other players in Game Week 3. So if you're looking for a cheap forward, and maybe you don't want to take a punt on João Pedro, or you've already got him, I would say Wissa is probably my second favourite forward at the moment to own in FPL at that cheaper price. Obviously, I'd like to own Erling Haaland, but Wissa is definitely worth considering. It's just about, are you happy still playing him in the 2 more difficult fixtures coming up, especially against City, obviously, this week? Or can you rotate him with someone else? Is he like an 8th attacker in your team? But definitely consider Wissa. I might even have, if I do wildcard in Game Week 6, Mbeumo and Wissa as a double-up. I wouldn't even mind that, because Brentford will create chances. And without Tony there, it's going to be the 2 of them. So guys, there you go. Please do check out FPL Therapy on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple if you need something to listen to rather than watching, because obviously my videos aren't currently on audio platforms. And by the way, I am looking into getting that done. But if you need something to listen to, you can find it on Spotify and Apple as well, or just head over to YouTube and make sure to subscribe as well. We actually just hit 10,000 subscribers already on FPL Therapy. I do really appreciate the support. I won't repeat myself too much there, but basically, Wissa's great. Brentford don't really have a share of the goals. It's just Wissa and Mbeumo are usually involved, and I think that will continue. It's just about the next 2 fixtures. I would just say, City do concede chances. Brentford create chances as well. So can I see Brentford scoring at City? Yes. And Spurs isn't an awful fixture. Their defensive data's been all right so far this season, Spurs, so I don't think it's a fixture to target. But are Brentford going to score probably 2, maybe 3 goals in the next couple of games? Yeah, I would expect them to do so. I don't know how the spread will be. And so Wissa could get 1 return, and then he's obviously in place for West Ham at home and Wolves at home, back-to-back home games. And United away, again, is not a bad fixture. And then beyond that, Brentford's fixtures look good for another few weeks. So definitely, I think if you can, get in on the Brentford assets early. Maybe even Game Week 5 would be a good entry point, but I don't mind this week either. And just to dive into his underlying data in a little bit more detail, Firstly, the minutes have been very good. They're not quite as good as Brian and Burmo, but they're still very strong. And that goal threat is unbelievable. Now, yes, a lot of that goal threat has come from the Southampton game, but just because it's an easy fixture on paper, you still have to get the chances and take the chances. Well, he has been doing that, involved in over one big chance per 90. But something that I wanted to show you, because obviously it's a small sample size, is that this isn't new for Wissa. So I've jumped over to Fantasy Football Hub, and you can, by the way, still get 50% off. I don't know when this is ending. They keep telling us it's ending soon. So I would trust that, and it will be over soon. So if you do want to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub for 50% off, I would do it ASAP, because that will eventually go. There will be a link down below in the description for that. But so I can search for Wissa right now. This is on the Opta Stats feature, by the way. And then let's, keep it per 90. So you can see his XGI is 0.8. So he's got that 0.73 expected goals per 90, which obviously he's not going to, well, I wouldn't expect him to continue at that crazy rate. But last season, his goal threat was still very good. So overall, his XGI was quite low, but that's because he really had very little assist threat. And I think that will probably improve slightly this year due to his role. But that goal threat is still really high at 0.38. So Wissa has always been a player that has very, very good goal threat. And so he's got a history of doing so. It's not like it's just a really hot run at the start of the season. And that's what I like. If a player is shown over a consistent basis that they can get chances to score goals, then they're good for me. It's just about, will he continue to score them? So let's wait and see. The fixtures are definitely there from Game Week 6 onwards. I would at least consider Yohan Wissa in your teams. So guys, it is absolutely not for everyone bringing in an asset to play against Man City away. Some people will say, well, the fixtures beyond that are great, and so I'll do it. But I would probably be there with you that I would ideally like to not bring in a Brentford asset this week. So I feel like unless you're on a wild card, or unless you just want to really save transfers in the future, I would probably look to target Brentford assets from Game Week 5 or Game Week 6. Even like I said, that Spurs fixture in 5 really isn't bad as an entry point. And so if you're looking for a player or a team that have great fixtures immediately, I feel like you can't look much further than Brighton. And we know that Ipswich at home and Forest at home are fantastic fixtures. But beyond that as well, I got caught up with just looking at the FDR colour scheme, because Chelsea, Spurs and Newcastle, they are good fixtures for an attacker. Absolutely, I wouldn't want to play like a Lewis Dunk in those 3 fixtures. But could I see Brighton scoring 2 goals in each of those games in 6, 7 and 8? Absolutely. So I actually think Brighton for the next 5 weeks are really good. So if you're not looking to wildcard in 6, and maybe you're looking to wildcard in 8, 10 or 12, which are 3 other good weeks that I don't mind, maybe you could get away with bringing in a few Brighton assets. So I like them more and more the more I look at those fixtures, but mainly for the attackers. And so let's discuss Danny Welbeck, because not only does Welbeck have those fixtures, and not only have his minutes been very good over the opening 3, and not only is he scoring goals, but lots of players are away on international duty. And obviously that's not a huge deal. A lot of them will feature. But a lot of the players are also playing very late in the international break, especially those playing in Asia and South America. So not only are they playing very late, some of them on the 10th or 11th, with their team then playing on the 14th. But on top of that, they've got an extremely long flight in which they've got, I know first class is very different to the sort of flights that me and you might get. However, it's still a very long flight and they still will be jet lagged, and they'll still need to have some level of recovery before they then go straight back into training. I'll tell you who is not on international duty, Danny Welbeck, although he could be soon if he keeps it up. But it's great that he will get not necessarily a full rest, but he won't have to do all of that travel. He'll be able to train, he'll be able to strengthen and also recover, because we know Danny Welbeck in the past has suffered with injuries and struggled to stay fit. He looks pretty good at the moment, and to have a couple of weeks now where he can recover, I think that's a real positive. So I would be very surprised if Welbeck doesn't start in Game Week 4. If you also consider that a lot of those players that I spoke about that are away on international duty play for Brighton. So Mitoma with Japan playing very late. I think Adingra is away with the Ivory Coast playing very late. We know that João Pedro has now been called up to the Brazil squad. Again, they're playing on the 11th and Brighton play on the 14th. So even if João Pedro doesn't get minutes, the earliest he'll be able to get home to the UK will be late on the 11th or early on the 12th. So we are talking about only a couple of days to recover. So I'd be very surprised if Welbeck doesn't start. And then if he continues to play well, why won't he continue to get very good minutes? So listen, I really like him as an option. In terms of his underlying data, it's not been fantastic. And I know I sit there with a 0.5 non-penalty XG. A lot of that was accumulated, I think it was in Game Week 2 with one massive chance. And he still got that chance, by the way. But if you remove that, the lack of creativity, he's not had tons of shots, he's not had tons of opportunities, but he does tend to get pretty clear-cut ones. And you would say that Danny Welbeck is a good finisher, by the way. I don't think we're talking about someone like a Darwin Nunez who will miss lots and lots of chances. I think Welbeck is relatively prolific and clinical when you get him into those positions. So I think when you look at everything together, the rest still get over the international break, the fixtures over the next 5 for an attacker, and the fact that he's scoring goals looking good and that Brighton are attacking fairly well, I'm struggling to find many bad things to say about Welbeck. My only slight issue with Welbeck is not necessarily with him as an asset. It's more so that I just think João Pedro is a better asset to own in FPL. As long as he does get back in time to start in Game Week 4, which we'll obviously assess closer to the deadline. But I just think his minutes have been better so far. Data very similar, but longer term, if you look over a bigger sample size, João Pedro's data is usually exceptionally strong. It's just been the minutes. And with the minutes being so good, with the fact that we do still believe he's on penalties, and with whatever happens with regards to substitutions so far this season, João Pedro gets shifted around. He'll play as the 9, he'll play as the 10. He just seems to be very important to Hertzler's system. So it's not an issue with Welbeck. It's just that I think, all things considered, I would probably prefer João Pedro. But if you want to double up, or if we think João Pedro might not be available to start in Game Week 4, and or you just want a bit of a differential option, I would definitely consider Danny Welbeck for Game Week 4. So let's stick on the topic of Brighton and we'll discuss Minteh and Mitoma now, two midfielders that I think are brilliant options, and especially if you are struggling to fit all the forwards in that you want and you've got that free midfield slot, I think you could do a lot worse. In fact, these are probably two of my favourite midfielders to own from Game Week 4 and beyond, and I'm strongly considering it in my own team. I just feel like, sadly, I probably need a forward more than I need a midfielder, but both of them are fantastic. I still feel like at 6.6 million, Mitoma is good value, and Minteh at 5.5 feels like a bit of a steal. So, we've already discussed the fixtures. They're fantastic. Before we even look at the data so far this season, which again is still a very, very small sample size, I just wanted to discuss international duty without being too repetitive with it. It is something to think about over the international break. So Minteh is Gambian. Gambia they only have one fixture during the international break, which is on the 8th of September, which is Sunday. So I'm recording this on Friday in a couple of days. So he has got plenty of time to recover. So I would be very sure that Minteh will start unless there is some issue that we don't know about. So that's great for him. With Mitoma, Japan play on the Tuesday, the 10th of September at 5 p.m. UK time. So that is much better than when João Pedro plays, which is technically Wednesday morning at 1:30. It's enough time to potentially even fly back on the Tuesday, have his rest day on the Wednesday, and you think there's a very good chance that he's available for training on the Thursday. So with Mitoma, despite him being away with Japan and having the same issue of travel, jet lag, etc., the game is slightly earlier. So I would still predict that both of these two start, but do remember that Brighton have so many options in the attack that if someone like a Minteh Mitoma was to be rested, I wouldn't be massively surprised, but I do still believe strongly that they are first choice. In terms of minutes so far this season, Mitoma's minutes have been brilliant. He's pretty much a 90-minute man along with João Pedro, and you would say if you had to pick two attackers at the moment that were the most nailed in that 11, it probably is João Pedro and Mitoma, just followed by Welbeck after that. But Minteh has still been starting every game, and I still feel like he is first choice. It's just he will get those early subs. And so when we look at the data in a second, we say per 90, the data is XYZ. That's all well and good, but Minteh's not getting 90, and Mitoma's getting much closer to that. So that is something to be considered. But I think that both of them, when they're on the pitch, have a very similar level of chance to get attacking returns. So far this season, we've seen that Mitoma is more of a goal threat and Minteh has more assist threat. But again, it's such a small sample size that we don't know if that will repeat. But as you can see here, Mitoma has 0.4 non-penalty expected goals per 90 over the opening 3. Minteh with basically half of that at 0.21. So that goal threat from Mitoma is really nice for a midfielder. Minteh's isn't awful, by the way. It's just obviously quite a bit lower. But then the assist threat, it basically flips. So Mitoma's is 0.26 expected assist, and then Minteh's is 0.4. So far, we've had a demonstration that Mitoma's had more goal threat and Minteh's had more assist threat. I will just say that was largely due to Minteh creating a massive chance and Mitoma getting a massive chance. So just one big chance created or one big chance that you get in 3 game week sample can hugely skew the data, which is why 3 games isn't ideal. But I generally do think that both of these will get the chance to get assists. Both of them will get into the box. Something that's maybe more useful, look at their touch maps. Yes, they both play. So Minteh plays on the right, Mitoma plays on the left, and they will hug the touchline at points. But they're also getting a lot of touches in the box. And for me, touches in the box isn't the best indication of future returns, but it's giving me a good idea. Is my player getting into the right positions? And both of these players are. So I'm very, very impressed with both Minteh and Mitoma. I would have no issue with you picking either up. As long as Mitoma gets back in time to start in Game Week 4, there has been every indication thus far that Mitoma's minutes will be slightly more secure. I do just question whether Adingra might get a start eventually over Minteh, or once Solly March is back, he could obviously rotate in. But for now, both feel relatively nailed to start, at least most games for Brighton. Both have shown good attacking threat. If you only have the money for Minteh, I certainly don't mind it. But if you have a lot of money to spend, Mitoma might be the slightly safer option. So we've almost gone backwards here. At the start of the video, we spoke about Wissa, who doesn't have the best fixtures over the next 2, but does from Game Week 6 onwards. And we've got a similar situation here with Antoine Semenyo. Bournemouth don't have the best fixtures over the next 2, but then from Game Week 6, they've got Southampton and Leicester back-to-back. It's basically Arsenal's fixtures in 6 and 7, but reversed. And I really would like to have at least one Bournemouth asset for Game Week 6 and 7. And thus far, Semenyo has been the one because his data has been remarkable. The returns have been there. So let's discuss him. I would just say, I know I said it's similar to Brentford that the next 2 aren't ideal, but they're almost flipped in that the Game Week 4 fixture for Bournemouth is better than the Game Week 5 fixture. So I actually think this week against Chelsea at home is a relatively nice entry point for Semenyo. Ideally, you wouldn't play him in Game Week 5 because right now, Liverpool away feels like one of the toughest fixtures for attackers because they're defending so well. And at Anfield, they always make it very difficult. But Chelsea at home is a lovely entry point. So if you've got a player right now that you think you can rotate in for Game Week 5, bringing in Semenyo and starting him this week is good because as good as Chelsea have been from an attacking perspective, and they really have, we're going to discuss a Chelsea attacker in a second, because they're creating lots of chances, I still don't believe that they're a particularly great defence, and they will give up chances to those teams that they play against. And Bournemouth have been attacking so well that home fixture for them, I backed them to score 1 or 2 goals in this game. So why do we like Semenyo so much? He's just doing everything you want from an asset. He's getting into great positions. He's getting a lot of tap-in opportunities, which you could say that might not continue, but I like that. We've got someone that's a midfielder in FPL playing as a right winger that is getting into some really good goal-scoring opportunities. We just spoke about the fact that Minteh's got the assist threat, but not the goal threat thus far, and Mitoma's got the goal threat, but not as much assist threat. If you look at the underlying data for Semenyo, he's got all of the above. 0.4 non-penalty expected goals per 90 and 0.43 expected assists per 90. That puts him at 0.83 XGI per 90. He's involved in over 1 big chance per 90 at 1.34 as well. And an even better thing about Semenyo that neither Mitoma or Minteh have, or Wissa, is that he's getting 90 minutes every single game. And I think that will continue. He is so critical to that attack. We heard Iraola speak about the mentality of Semenyo and the fact that in that comeback against Everton, Semenyo was the one driving it. He's just so important to them at the moment. So you've got someone with, apart from 5 and 8, really nice fixtures, especially from Game Week 6. The underlying data's there. He's taking the chances. We saw last season he can get points on a consistent basis as well. And he's still under 6 million. Even if by the time you're watching this, he's risen once again. Still a really nice price. Now, the issue is, do I prefer a Semenyo to Minteh when you can get Nottingham Forest and Ipswich at home versus Chelsea at home and Liverpool away? I would still be tempted to go for a Brighton asset and then move them on in Game Week 6. If you're wildcarding in Game Week 6, I feel like you don't go for Semenyo right now. Because, yeah, you might gain a price rise, and yes, he could do well against Chelsea, but surely you have to back a Brighton midfielder or someone with slightly better fixtures over the next couple. Even if it's someone like a Dominic Szoboszlai, who you'd have to pay a little bit more for. Maybe not as great of an asset, but the fixtures over the next 2. So, yeah, I think it depends on your wildcard window. It depends on how you view fixtures versus form. Because some people, and I'm not saying this is wrong, by the way, there's no right or wrong way to play FPL ever. Some people don't even care about fixtures as much. It's like, listen, there's a player that's scoring goals, they'll continue to score goals. And if that's the case, yeah, Semenyo is probably better than the Brighton mids. But for me, yeah, I think basically if you need a player for the next 2, go Brighton. If you're looking longer term, you're not wildcarding in 6 or you're wildcarding now, maybe just getting on Semenyo right now, having him for Chelsea, benched him in 5, and having him from 6 onwards could be really good. I'd love to know down below, have you considered or are you bringing in any of the players we've mentioned thus far? I have a feeling that not many will bring in the next player, but I really like him. So I've put Nicholas Jackson towards the end of the video because I'm scared of the comments. He's one of those players. Do you know what? Another player that I really wanted to put in very briefly is actually Calvert-Lewin, because I think he looks really good from Game Week 5. Everton, whilst they haven't been great so far, they've created chances at least. They did look much better against Bournemouth for the first 86 minutes of that game. So I do like Calvert-Lewin, but I just was too terrified of the comments to ever suggest Calvert-Lewin. And Jackson feels the same. He's one of those players. There are just players in FPL that people just don't want to hear about. We talk about the likes of Calvert-Lewin, Jackson, Darwin Nunez, Luca Dean. There are just like trolls in FPL, and especially attackers that don't always finish their chances. people will often really dislike me talking about. But this is my channel. I do what I want. And I want to talk about Nicholas Jackson. And I think he's still a really good option. Look at those next 4 fixtures. Bournemouth, West Ham, Brighton, Forest. I don't believe they're all green fixtures, by the way. Again, I think the FDR rating colour scheme can be very misleading. But they are still 4 fixtures where you would expect Chelsea to score goals. And as a result, I really like him. I just think that yes, Palmer is ideally the player that you would want to own. He will create the most chances. He'll probably score the most goals. He's on penalties. His minutes will be very secure. If you've not yet seen, Chelsea haven't even registered Cole Palmer for the Europa Conference League. So he's not in their squad for the Europa Conference League, which means he can't play. I think they have the option to reassess that in around January, but that means that Cole Palmer's minutes should be even better because he's clearly not being risked in other competitions and they want to keep him just for the Prem. So all of this is fantastic for Cole Palmer. I don't think Nicholas Jackson is a replacement for him, but could he be an addition or an alternative? He absolutely could, because he is getting a lot of chances. I mean, a lot of them. And even if you don't think he's a fantastic finisher, just by that sheer quantity of chances he's getting, even if he only finishes 1 in every 5 big chances, he's probably going to get more goals than other players because he's getting so many of them. So when we look at his underlying data so far, firstly, the minutes have been really good. 74 minutes per game, I'm pretty impressed with. I think it could stay at that level as well. We will discuss in a moment that there is the possibility for rotation, but thus far he looks first choice. And I think outside of Palmer, Jackson's probably the second most nailed Chelsea attacker, maybe along with Madueke. But do remember, Madueke didn't even play in Game Week 1. So there are still some concerns there. So Jackson, for me, if you're not going Palmer, is one of the better Chelsea attackers for minutes. And then the underlying data, absolutely no creativity. 0.03 expected assist. He's not really linking up play or creating chances. But 0.85 non-penalty expected goals per 90 is the best of anyone we've looked at today. It's one of the best in the league thus far. He is just the chance magnet, very similar to Darwin Nunez, but again, similar in the fact that you don't necessarily expect him to finish them all. So it's very polarizing because some people would rather just a good finisher, someone that they'll get limited chances. I will even point to Heung-min Son. Heung-min Son doesn't and never has got many chances for Spurs. He's not someone that gets a high quantity across a season, but he normally gets very big chances. And when he gets those big chances, you fancy him to score them. Jackson will get lots of chances and lots of big chances, but it's just about that quality. But so far this season, I think he has shown a couple of quality finishes. He's also shown that he has the ability to miss them as well. I feel like if you're a Chelsea fan, which I often get in the comments, I'm a Chelsea fan, don't go there. You probably watch him miss chances on a regular basis, and that might be enough to put you off. But someone that is getting 1.61 big chances per 90 is someone that deserves consideration, especially with 4 really good fixtures coming up. I did say my issue is, whilst Chelsea haven't gone out and signed a number 9, all right, there were links to multiple natural number 9s that they've not gone out and bought, which is amazing news for Nicholas Jackson. They still have lots of players that can play that role. And I'll point to 2 in particular. Nkunku and João Felix are both players that have, at points in their career, for long spells as well, played as the number 9. And so you could see them, one of them playing as the 9, and then Cole Palmer as the 10. Or you could see a situation where Cole Palmer's on the right and then João Felix and Nkunku play as the 9 and 10. And the reason I think that would work very well is because neither of them are natural 9s, but they could basically just keep doing this and switching. So at all points, one of them sits as the 9, and at one point they're the 10. So you're almost playing like dual 9s or dual 10s where one of them pushes slightly further forward. I think that could work well for Chelsea. So do I think that's an ideal solution? No. And do I think João Felix or Nkunku will be preferred to Jackson as the 9? Again, I don't. But I just wanted to put it out there that he's not completely nailed in the way that Cole Palmer is, especially once the Europa Conference League kicks in, because obviously they'll be playing on the Thursday. If Jackson is preferred in that competition, his minutes might be limited in the Premier League. But if you think his minutes will continue to be good, the fixtures are there, the data's there. I don't think he's a terrible finisher. You could do worse. And in my wildcard video, which I released yesterday, which please go and watch if you've not yet, I speak about how I would probably have Nicholas Jackson in a wildcard. Because I don't think you can squeeze in Trent, Haaland, and Salah, and Palmer, and have a good squad. And for me, if you want Salah and Haaland, I don't think I'd want to sacrifice Trent. I would rather Trent to Palmer if you're only choosing one. And therefore, if you want a Chelsea attacker, again, coverage doesn't exist. Jackson's not going to cover Palmer. But if you wanted a Chelsea attacker still for their fixtures, I really like Nicholas Jackson. And the final thing on him, because I keep saying final thing and I say more, I like the price point as well, because you are closer to the likes of a Havertz and Isak or Watkins. You still need to find a couple of million for some of those, but it's not like you're going for really cheap forwards. And then if you want to squeeze to a Havertz in the future, you've got to try and find multiple millions. You're only at that point finding 0.5 or 0.6 to get to a Havertz. So there are multiple exit routes. You could even downgrade after that. I'm not going to keep praising him too much, but Nicholas Jackson deserves consideration, and I think he could still score goals over the next few game weeks. So guys, there you have it. A slightly shorter video today, but those are some players that I would consider buying for Game Week 4 and beyond. And if you did enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button and make sure to subscribe as well. Two things. Also, make sure to check out FPL Therapy. That will be linked down below in the description. And make sure to check out Fantasy Football Hub as well. If you want to get access to any of the stats and stuff that I use in these videos, currently 50% off. Do check that out. Again, link down below in the description. But until next time, thank you very much. Bye-bye.